Episode 568 of 360 Wrestling Fanatic, talking all about AEW Dynamite Big Business, which featured a long-awaited AEW debut of a boss. The AEW World Championship was on the line. And women's action in the main event tonight. All that and more right here, right now. 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Hello, Wrestling Fanatics. Welcome to 360 Wrestling Fanatic for March 13th, 2024. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. But tonight, we are not just talking any regular episode of AEW Dynamite. No, tonight is Big Business live from Boston, Massachusetts. I know I say that wrong, but from the TD Garden Arena. And then when I am done with the recap, I might get into some news going on in the world of pro wrestling. But first, gonna be talking all about AEW Dynamite Big Business. This show has been hyped up quite a bit lately, and for good reason. Without any further ado, though, gonna get into this recap. And AEW Big Business was live from Boston at the TD Garden Arena. Our commentators for the evening: Tony Schiavone, Excalibur, and the Human Suplex Machine, Taz. And we waste no time tonight. We get right to it. The All Elite Wrestling debut of the CEO, Mercedes Moné. Like I said, right off at the top of the show, which I have to admit, I was kind of surprised that they started the show right off the bat with her debut, but of course she got a huge pop in her hometown of Boston, and she cuts a very good promo, very emotional, and she does mention the history that she does have with Willow Nightingale, who defeated her for the NJPW Strong Women's Championship. So, start things off, I thought this was a very good first promo in AEW from Mercedes Moné. But this is not the last we will see of her tonight, but more on that in a little bit. And another thing I was actually kind of surprised about, our first match of the night is the AEW World Championship match, starting things off huge on Big Business, or I should say, starting things off big on Big Business. The AEW World Champion, the Samoan Submission Machine, Samoa Joe, defending against Wardlow. Good match. I wouldn't really say real great, but it was a pretty good match here. Wardlow did get the advantage on Joe a little bit. And I wouldn't say Joe's title reign was in real danger. Samoa Joe getting the Coquina Clutch locked in. The referee raising his hands three times, or his arm, I should say, 3 times. Samoa Joe gets the win. 11 minutes, 7 seconds. And then post-match, we see Swerve Strickland make his way out and trying to get to Samoa Joe. And it does look like that is going to be the next challenger for AEW World Champion Samoa Joe at AEW Dynasty, April 21st on pay-per-view, which I'm not surprised because I heard Bully Ray on Busted Open recently say that this was probably a better idea to not have Swerve win the title at Revolution, since it wasn't the main event. More of the focus would have been on Sting's final match, and that's what most people would have been talking about after the pay-per-view, and I agree. Also, I think the title victory for Swerve would probably mean a little more if it was in a one-on-one singles match against Joe. And backstage, we see Alex with, sorry, I forgot his name. I can't think of his name now. Oh, Alex Marvez. Sorry, just forgot for a few seconds. With the Elite. And Okada has Alex wish Matthew, or not just wish him, but he has him sing Matthew happy birthday. And the new Elite is in trios action next. The Young Bucks, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, taking on the Mad King, Eddie Kingston, and the Lucha Brothers, Penta El Zero Miedo, and Phoenix, with Alex Abrahantes. Remembered his last name right away. Pretty good match here. Good trios action, of course, which you would expect. Okada pinning Kingston to score the win for the new Elite. And then we have Switchblade Jay White taking on Darby Allin, which is Darby's last match in AEW before he tries to climb Mount Everest. He still has the bandages on from going through the plate glass at the Revolution pay-per-view. And awesome match here with Darby and Jay. And it actually, well, they can use the injuries as part of the reason, but it was Jay White getting the win, defeating Darby Allin with the Blade Runner at 12 minutes, 19 seconds. And then after the match, which I didn't mention this, but Darby Allin actually came out with Sting's baseball bat. And after the match, Jay White and the Guns gonna attack Darby with a chair and the bat. But then at this time we see the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn come out, make the save, try to talk him out of it. But then Jay White attacks Billy Gunn when his back is turned with the steel chair. And the Guns get back in the ring and they attack the Acclaimed as well. And then they go after Darby once more, put his leg in between the chair, and then they stomp on it. So this is a way, I'm guessing, for them to write Darby Allin off of TV while he is going to climb can't talk as usual. Going to climb Mount Everest. And not only that, but this appears to be the end of the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. I'm kind of surprised that it didn't last longer. I thought it might have went on for a little longer. I thought it was still pretty over. I know it kind of started a few weeks or so back when Max Caster accidentally messed up on his rap. They were kind of teasing him about that. But then tonight, it is the end of the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. And next up, tag team action on Big Business. Lionheart Chris Jericho and the cold-hearted handsome devil Hook taking on the Gates of Agony. Pretty good match here. Jericho and Hook getting the win. After the match, we see the remarkable Renee Paquette with Chris Jericho, where he pretty much says he wants to get to know Hook more, and he wants to be across from the ring with him. So it looks like we are going to see Jericho versus Hook in the future. And Renee Paquette again is backstage with Kyle O'Reilly, and we find out that he will be taking on the bounty hunter Brian Keith this Saturday night on Collision. And then we hear Roderick Strong yell out, "Kyle!" He's with the Kingdom, and he says if he wants to do it alone, he can. And they all shake his hand. That should be a pretty good match coming up this Saturday night on Collision. O'Reilly and Brian Keith. Looking forward to seeing that one. We see in the back Mercedes Moné introduces herself to Riho, wishes her luck. And then it is time for tonight's main event of Dynamite Big Business. Women's action. Willow Nightingale taking on Riho. Really good main event. I wouldn't say maybe not the best Dynamite match I've ever seen, but still good match. And it is Willow Nightingale getting the win. 9 minutes, 3 seconds. Post-match, we see the lights go out. And then when they reappear, we see Julia Hart and Sky Blue. They attack Willow 2-on-1. But then we hear the new CEO music, and it's Mercedes Moné making her way out to the ring to make the save for Willow Nightingale. Willow shakes her hand in the ring and gives her center stage in her hometown as she celebrates with her hometown fans. And that was tonight's AEW Dynamite Big Business. Thought it was a really good show. Like I said, though, I was maybe a little surprised with debuting Mercedes Moné right at the top of the show, and also putting the World Championship match on first. But it does kind of make sense that they would close the show with Mercedes there being the hometown hero. So, a really good episode of Dynamite tonight. I enjoyed it. And before I wrap up this episode of the podcast, newest member of the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2024 is Thunderbolt Patterson. That's not a name I would say I'm super familiar with, but I do know a little bit about. Of course, I've watched some of his stuff, and unfortunately, while Dynamite was still on the air, I got a news alert from Ringside News. Just let me get this up real quick. And that was just a second. And that is that, sorry, just 1 second, I just want to make sure I get this right. And that is Jackie Crockett, the son of legendary promoter Jim Crockett, has passed away tonight. Unfortunately, definitely a big part of the wrestling business. So definitely condolences to friends, family, and fans. Crockett's, of course, a big part of professional wrestling, and I'm not sure if they have found out yet, but if they did know at the time, I wouldn't have been surprised if that Tony Schiavone would have mentioned it tonight on Dynamite. Of course, most recently, you remember David Crockett appeared on the 0 hour prior to the Revolution pay-per-view. definitely a sad day for pro wrestling. And that is all for tonight's episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic, episode 568. Thank you everyone for tuning in, listening, downloading, and in the comment section you can leave your thoughts and your opinions on tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite. Big business. What did you think of the debut of Mercedes Moné and also the World Championship match, Joe versus Wardlow? And I will be back tomorrow morning for the Thursday episode of Good Morning Wrestling Fans. So hope everyone that has been listening tonight will join me tomorrow morning. And until then, I am Lance, and I am a wrestling fanatic.